Yep.
I didn't see it initially.
Yep, so okay, whatever you want to keep.
I think we're recording. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Marion, can you hear us?
Yep, I can.
All right. Good afternoon and welcome everyone to the September 5th regular meeting of the Police and Fire Commission. We'll start with the roll call. Let the record show Commissioners Dorf, Laux, and Goldhahn are present in the room. Commissioner Boyle-Roloff is attending via Zoom. And we're not sure if Commissioner Cobb will be joining us later or will be absent. You received the agenda in the mail emailed from Haley. So if there are no questions or changes, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
A motion by Commissioner Dorf, second by Commissioner Laux. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? All right, we have approval of the agenda. First item is approval of the minutes. There are two sets of minutes in your packet. One was from the regular meeting of August 1st, 2024, and then a special meeting on August 14th of 2024. Are there any corrections or changes to those minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve both of those.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Laux, seconded by Commissioner Dorf. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? All right, those minutes have been approved. Next are the informational items. I just have one fun item. Every year, the Boy Scouts have a Sporting Clays fundraiser, and we like to recognize frontline heroes. So I sponsor a Green Bay Police Department team and a Green Bay Metro Fire Department team. And then we have some friendly competition between the two. That takes place tomorrow. So at the next meeting, I'll be able to tell you if the firefighters are again the best shots of the two groups, or if the police department comes back and gives them some competition. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chief Knott.
It does make me laugh a little bit, but yeah, that's the way it goes. Yeah, always the same. So just a couple updates. We do have a couple agenda items. This is budget season for us, so we're working through our budget in that process. We've been presenting to the other communities we serve too, so I just presented to Alloway Village Board. We presented to the Bellevue Village Board a little while ago. Just kind of giving them an update with the organization and where we're going and what our future looks like. So real positive comments from both of the organizations. One of the things we're working on too is that pathway to accreditation. So I have a copy of a strategic plan. This is our finalized strategic plan. And we'll get one to our guests attending on.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. So page 7 has our goals. And then with that, we also have a management implementation plan, which actually breaks it down further into the specific objectives and tasks that we would need to accomplish to meet those goals. So the goals that are presented there are really broad categories, and like I said, we're able to break those down too. So if you're interested in those breakdowns a little more, I can send those out either in a hard copy or electronically, whatever you prefer. So. The next step with that is we're going to start mid-month on a community risk assessment, looking specifically at our community and how we serve it. The second part of that will be a standard of cover, which is basically looks at all of our lines of resources to our specific risks of our community. So much more comprehensive dive into how we serve and how we can improve in the future. So that'll be very helpful for us, our organization, as we grow and develop. We kind of talked briefly in the hallway too about fire station updates. So just new fire station, work continues with the planning and the concepts of this. September 11th, we're meeting with the architects to go over concepts of the design. So really at this point we have just basic layout, basic squares of square footage that we need. But starting next week, we're going to start actually putting separate spaces in, where the living quarters are, how that lines up. Decontamination areas, things along those lines, how all that lines up, and then that helps us to continue on that pathway to get bids and actually ultimately construction. So things are moving very well with that, so we're very excited. And then this weekend, if anybody's interested, we have a stair climb. This is in partnership with Pierce Manufacturing. We have Lambeau Field, so we climb All those stairs, a lot of stairs, and but it's a great fundraiser. Again, it's a remembrance event for September 11th, but it's also a great fundraiser to raise money for the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation. So, Pierce has been a great partner with us, and together we've raised a lot of money for the program. This is the #1 leading fundraiser for the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation, so we're very proud of that. And this year should put us above some big thresholds that they have set. So should be very good. And right now we've got great weather forecasted and a really good turnout. So I'm very excited about it. And then, like I said, we have a couple agenda items too, so we'll follow up with those later.
Okay, any questions? Chief Knott? All right, thank you. Rick?
So Chief Davis is on vacation, comes back on Tuesday after a couple weeks off, getting some kids off to school, college. But in our world, right now we're sitting at about 178 fully sworn. I have 188 budgeted. We currently have 3 others in the academy and another person starting next week. And will be starting with us and getting into some training in the advanced academy. As everybody knows here, there's some talk about a new building for the PD, kind of right behind everybody here. There's been a lot going on in our building with some adjustments. Some building need analysis took place last week where we met with a firm, kind of covered different divisions and our needs and spatial needs and whatnot. Sounds like that's going to take a couple months to come back to kind of get a better understanding of what the new building would need to have to accommodate those needs. So, but it's a pretty exciting time. A little bit of a buzz in the building that we're kind of getting some places with that. It's been worked on for many, many years. Many years. Also, through some ARPA funding, the Professional Standards Division has bought a program called ESOF, and it'll kind of have a little bit of an effect on the packets PFC members will get from us. We're still exploring how to potentially kind of present that, but the program that we went with is going to increase our vetting substantially. It's electronic based. It'll notify other agencies in the areas that the candidates have lived. It kind of times their answers to certain questions. It tracks if they switch their answers. It's a pretty neat system to kind of give us a little idea of hiring the best candidate and checking their best background as we can. So that's really it for now.
All right, any questions? Okay, great, thank you. Next item is the 2024 battalion chief promotional process.
Right, so in the packet, there's a memorandum that kind of explains the process as we lay it out. There we look to, the application date ends here very quickly, and we expect to see quite a few applicants with this. So we'll see, everybody likes to wait to the end, of course, and so we expect to see an influx here soon, but we have quite a few applicants, we hope, and a good candidate pool. We're also looking to establish an eligibility list off of this one. That'll allow us for that future opportunities as they present themselves, and then also the ability to have people work out of grade, some preferential treatment for that out of grade status. So that should be very good. We're going to look for some help with the interviews too, if anybody's interested in that, on September 23rd, 24th, and perhaps the 25th if we need it. And then look to establish, bring a list for final approval in October back to the commission. So.
And we listed this as an informational item because it's the same process as prior years.
Okay, all right. And then I suppose in that case, we will need to receive it and place it on file. So is there a motion to receive this report and place it on file?
Motion.
Motion by
Second.
Commissioner Locke, seconded by Commissioner Durf. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstain? All right, receive that and place on file. Next item is the Police Department Detective Promotional Process. And again, this process is part of the labor agreement, so again, it would be a receive and place on file item. Rick, anything?
No, we've ran this process before. Ended up, I believe, with 4 people on the list, and now we've just promoted that last person. So we're in the process of continuing this next process to get the next.
Is this in anticipation of retirees?
Yes.
What are we anticipating this year, Rick?
At least one, if not two. Been told one for sure by the end of the year, maybe, but this would be a 2-year list, so over the next couple of years, we'll for sure have some retirees.
Okay. Any other questions? Not, again, I'll entertain a motion to receive this and place on file.
Motion. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Laux, seconded by Commissioner North. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? All right, we'll receive that. The next item was the consideration with possible action on the budget status report and budget spreadsheet. We finally got some spending from fire.
And now a couple huge.
About 40 bucks, about 40 bucks out of it, so, but that's pretty typical. The fire spending usually happens, will happen starting now and into the winter time and spring as we get the first crop of new hires coming in. And you'll notice on the police department, it shows $513 being spent year to date, and that's because the previous balance was zeroed out because ARPA funds was used for that. So this is basically starting over mid-year with that. And then the budget spreadsheet shows the spending relative to recruiting and physicals, psych evaluations, and things of that nature. So any questions on either of those? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to receive those and place on file.
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Commissioner Dorf, seconded by Commissioner Laux. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstained? All right. So we'll receive those and place on file. And then consideration with possible action on the request to approve the monthly bills. Those were in your packet. If there are no questions on any of those, I'll entertain a motion to authorize payment.
Move to approve. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Dorf, seconded by Commissioner Laux. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? All right, we have those approved. And consideration with possible action to approve the 2024 firefighter hiring process. So some big changes here.
All right, so this concept, the change is, and what we will talk about, we do have a guest that's joining us also, is specifically using public safety answers for a component of this. So applications, a written test, and first interviews would be conducted through their company, all online, which really opens up the candidate pool, we feel, and makes it more of a national concept. They also help with advertising and outreach efforts, and hopefully helps with our recruiting efforts as we move forward too. So again, be glad to introduce a guest speaker as you see fit to kind of explain their process, but that is the change. And so what we would do then is we would screen the interviews, they'd be recorded, and so we remove some of those logistic components. We ask 2 or 3 questions, the answers are provided online, we would then screen those answers, and then ultimately there'd be one in-person interview with the board directly, so as we move that forward.
Okay. Just in general, will applicants have the chance to fill out one application and be able to apply to multiple agencies like they do now, or will that change?
That would change to be our app, you would apply to us
Okay.
at this point.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep, and they can actually filter it through our NeoGov system. So
Okay.
rather than candidates having to apply to the regional process and then later on leave their application in NeoGov, they'll be directed right to NeoGov, which will be convenient for the candidates and for us as well.
Yep. It would still have the same physical components through the CPAT test, so that doesn't change either. But like I said, we hope that this streamlines the process a little bit, because that's always a concern we have with both public safety entities. It's a really long process, and this hopefully streamlines that approach a little bit, makes it a little bit easier for the candidate, and again, more successful for us to receive more applicants.
Brendan, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Do you mind just giving a brief explanation of the process from your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. Is it okay for me to share my screen? I've got some PowerPoint pictures for you to take a look at.
Sure.
Looks like you have to give me permission.
Down where it says screen share, Haley, on the bottom, in the green?
Right here,
Yeah, click on that.
multiple participants.
Give that a try now.
There it is.
Okay.
All right. Are you seeing the PowerPoint hopefully there?
Yep.
Yep.
So I'm gonna try to be really respectful of your time. We met with your chiefs in HR for a little over an hour and really got in depth into this program and the why behind it. So this is gonna be a really short 5-minute just look at it. But like I said, there's a lot more information. So if you have more questions, feel free to ask. We really cut these slides down, just kind of give you a taste and see if you have any additional questions. So just a really quick background on me. I'm Brendan Trainer, by the way. I own a company called Public Safety Answers, and I, along with my business partner, Wes Trainer. Wes was a chief with Phoenix Fire Department. He did 37 years there, retired from Phoenix a few years ago, and now he's a chief for Hell's Gate. I still work as a special operations captain out here in the Phoenix metro area. So we have a lot of experience not only doing recruit promotional exams, but also as firefighters, sitting on panels, running processes, running academies. And we've been doing entry-level exams and promotional exams since the 1990s for Phoenix Fire and most of Arizona. And I'll kind of explain how we ended up branching out nationwide, and now we're doing that in 23 states. When COVID occurred in Phoenix, we would get up to 5,000 applicants. And what we would do is we would bring 5,000 people into a convention center, and we would hand out 5,000 Scantrons and 10,000 number 2 pencils. And that's just the way that we've always done it. So we call that tradition unimpeded by progress. If there's 2 things firefighters hate, it's changing the way things are, right? So COVID, one of the positives that came is it really forced our hand and said, hey, is the way that we're doing recruitment really best practice? Is it really the 21st century best practice? And of course it wasn't. So we had to make some changes. So if you go back to 1979 when Wes got hired, he did an application, written exam, a couple of interviews, and then went to an academy. If you fast forward from 1979 to 2024, we really hadn't changed that much in the way we were recruiting. So the first thing that we did, as Chief alluded to, is we put the exam online. And initially that was because of COVID protocols, but what we figured out was that that's what everybody was doing. If you applied to any major organization, nobody required you to drive out and do a number 2 pencil Scantron, right? And so we just needed to update things and bring the recruitment process to the 21st century. So our test is behavioral as well as cognitive. We went into a lot of depth in that in our other meeting. If you want to hear more about that, I can certainly do that, but it is a validated exam. We send it out every 18 months to a couple of PhD industrial psychologists. It's all through the Department of Labor and ONET, so it shows that there's not bias or any disparate impact towards race, gender, things like that. So that is a validated exam that we give online. And it'll make more sense here when I show you the landing page on how this is all going to work. As Chief alluded, we're going to save a lot of time for your personnel and for the applicants as well. But in addition to taking that test, they're also going to record a pre-recorded video interview. And the reason that we're doing this is not to replace the in-person interview. We see a lot of value in the in-person interview, but the ultimate goal is to get the right people to that interview. And so this is what we call a 360-degree view of the candidate. We want to see their resume and their minimum preferred qualifications as well as their test score, but we also want to see them answer some questions as a human being and not just associate them only with a test score. So these questions are totally customizable. You can pick whatever questions you want. You can write your own questions. You can pick how many questions you want to ask and the time frame they have to answer. And then your panels will score these questions on a 1 through 10 scale, and they can enter their justification notes as well. And all that can be sent export file to HR for record keeping as well as access within our system. So we'll get rid of taking the cardboard box full of packets over to someone who now has to build an Excel spreadsheet, just kind of bring everything to the 21st century. So now these candidates like Timothy here, who lives in Utah, if he wants to move to Green Bay, that's where his family's from, that's where he wants to work, he can now participate in this process nationwide. He doesn't have to fly out over and over again for each part of the process. And then for you as the evaluators, you're going to get to see a lot more candidates, not only because of the nationwide net, but typically you can only interview maybe 10 people a day in 30-minute time blocks. Some of them don't use all their time, some of them no-show you. So with this, you'll be able to look at more like 50 or 60 people per day, per panel, and you'll be able to get a really good look at these candidates and then truly bring the top candidates in for their in-person interview. So what we recommend is doing a score cutoff. So one of the mistakes that we made in the past in the fire service was only interviewing the top test scores. Well, in the fire service, EMT, paramedic, fire 1 and 2, red card, all these certs are pass-fail. It's like, what do you call a C student in medical school? You call them doctor. So is someone who scores a 93 necessarily a better candidate than someone who scored an 83? Well, maybe, but not always. And so we were missing out on some good candidates by putting too much emphasis on just written test scores and finding out that we had some really, really good candidates. Another example we give is like paramedic school. The person who comes out number 1 in class in paramedic school is not always necessarily the best street paramedic in an actual 911 call. So that's where we talk about that 360-degree view of the candidates. So our recommendation is that, like all those other things that Chief mentioned, CPAT, Fire 1 and 2, all those that are pass-fail, we treat this entrance exam as a pass-fail as well. So if they score a 70 or higher, then you're going to automatically watch and grade their video interview. And then you're going to decide from those videos of everyone who passed the exam and then passed your video interview who you want to move to the in-persons. So this is what a dashboard looks like with all of your candidates, their contact information, what step in the process they've completed, their test score, which if they're in the green, they have a high statistical likelihood of success. Yellow is fairly likely, and red is not likely, meaning below 70. And this next column is what your personnel graded their video interviews. And then this blank column can actually be used for the in-person interview as well. You just enter your grades and notes in, and everything will populate for you on one page. Your resumes, as well as your test scores and all of your video notes and grades. We also have customized qualification tabs. This is where we can put things that are required, like EMT, 18 years old, things like that. Well, we can also put preferred things in here, like we would prefer that they have their paramedic, but it's not required. Then you could say, hey, Brendan, we've got to hire 5 paramedics in this next group, and we can actually sort them on this list by paramedic or by Fire 1 and 2 or whatever requirements you want. In addition to that, if you click on a candidate, you can actually see a breakdown of why they scored what they scored. What was their critical thinking and reasoning score? What was their behavioral metric breakdown? And this is specific to firefighter. And we can change that to police officer, civilian, EMT, paramedic, things like that. But this is looking specifically at firefighter traits. So we want to know cognitively that they're intelligent enough to do the job, but behaviorally, running into burning buildings and doing CPR on babies is not for everyone. So we want to look at their innate behavioral characteristics as well. So if we go down that report, it'll show Timothy here is not quite as cool-headed in a high-stress environment as we would like him to be for this particular position of firefighter. And it will explain this candidate versus the ideal candidate and even give you some suggestions in your in-person interview if you want to ask him more about stress. So this is a 15-page report. Don't worry, we're not going to look at the whole thing, but that's just to help you make a better hiring decision instead of just the test score in addition to your video. Chief mentioned the advertising as well. I also have another company called Fire Interview, which is designed to help candidates be successful in these processes, mainly in the interview portion. I wrote a book a few years ago called Fire Interview. Like a typical fireman, I wrote it in crayon. I didn't use a publisher or an editor. I just uploaded it to Amazon. And then to my surprise, Amazon emailed me and said, hey, your book's gone #1 in the world. It's selling in 5 countries. So we started a podcast and Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and all those things. So that helps in a few ways. One is we have a huge following on Instagram of people trying to become firefighters. We have over 20,000 people that have signed up for our mailing list to hear about new departments that are testing. We also do live seminars for some of our bigger cities. So I've flown out this year to Las Vegas, Tucson, Dallas, Fort Worth, Notre Dame, Fort Lauderdale, to do these big recruitment events where we teach a master class on interviewing for the fire service to try to give everybody their best foot forward. In addition to that, we'll actually build an advertisement video for you that we'll share on Fire Interviews social media pages to let them know that Green Bay is testing. And one of the things that we do in there is tell them where to go to apply. So we'll actually build a custom web page for you as well. This is the one that we built for Fort Lauderdale, and the advertisement video that I built for them, their minimum qualifications, and then you have the process here. So I believe somebody already mentioned that we can embed your NeoGov link right here under step 1. So traditionally what we would do is, in the past, we would put out applications for a month, and then next month we would send them an email about testing, and then next month they would get their scores, and then next month they would go to an interview, and then next month they would do a CPAT. The process ends up being really long, and you're losing candidates based on the length of the process, but also the amount of times you have to email someone back and forth. So we're going to get rid of all that. You won't have to email them back and forth at all anymore. So for Fort Lauderdale here, when they opened applications on March 11th, you can immediately go in here, and by March 25th, you need to complete your application with them. And when you're done with that, you don't have to wait for anything. You can immediately go to step 2, complete your testing and video interview, and it's due April 1st, and the link for it's right here. And then in this case, they also hosted a seminar, so that's why there's that 3rd step. But traditionally, it would just have 2 steps on it here if HR wants to take their own applications. And then just an example of one other page that's actually live right now, so you can see what it looks like. I'm a paramedic. I want to apply for Gilbert. I go to step 1, and it literally takes me directly to their NeoGov page to apply. I get done with that, I go to step 2, and it's going to take me to go and complete my exam and my online interview. So all of this will be running at the same time. So if we opened applications on October 1st for the month of October, they're going to do their application, their resume upload, their certs, their online testing, their video interview. They can do all of it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from anywhere in the world. And they don't need to be emailed back and forth. All of the links and the dates are going to be on this custom website that we're going to build for you. So it makes it just really, really efficient for your staff as well as for the candidates. So in summary, we're much more than a company that just provides testing. We really provide everything. We're really a complete consultant on best practices from around the country and all the departments we've worked with for advertising, social media, interviews, testing, website building, the video advertisement we build for you. All of that is included in this package. So there's no real upcharge for anything. I believe you already have the pricing in front of you, but we don't charge you anything extra for any of those other items. We really want it to be the best recruitment possible, and we want to be paid based on that performance, which is why the pricing is the way that it is. And then just full disclosure, the only thing we talked about that's not included in that would be for me to fly out, do a recruitment event. But everything else, the social media, the website, all the other stuff that we talked about is included in that. So with that, do you have any questions for me or anything else you want me to go into more detail about? I know that was very quick.
Yeah, we, like I said, we spent a lot of time going through this, and we're very happy with what it looks like for us, and we expect to see, just these things too, as, better use of our staffing time.
Was Davis in with that?
Police were not at this point, yeah, no.
We looked on the website.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Maybe,
impressive.
I know.
yeah,
All right.
but
Yeah.
police may be in later, but,
He said-
yeah,
He said they can customize it for fire and police.
correct, yeah. Yeah, and I think, like I said, it's gonna be easier for the applicant, which is huge, because that's always a factor we hear is, our processes take so long, it's so much energy back and forth. This way it's one and done, and we just get that auto-populated spreadsheet, and we just take the steps accordingly, so.
How did you find out about this?
Ryan actually did at a conference, so.
Yeah, I went to the EMS summit out in Tucson, and Brendan was there. It's kind of a little different conference that's there with vendors. So over the course of the days that we were there, we get to meet with tons and tons of vendors. Probably 50 different, I think, that were there. Anything from medical equipment to software packages to durable goods that we use. And this was one of them. And as soon as I met Brendan and kind of discussed what they had to offer, we think this would really streamline our process. And so brought it forward to the chief.
Brendan, do you have other clients in Wisconsin?
You would be the first, I believe. Stevens Point, I presented to Stevens Point also, and they're interested in moving forward. But you or Stevens Point, whoever tests first, would be our first one in Wisconsin.
Brendan, how many police departments do you have, if any at all?
So we've done testing for Red Wing, Minnesota. Was the first department that did police testing with us, and then we're talking with Keller, Texas, and Clark County, Nevada, about doing police as well as corrections for them. So we can do up to 900 different job categories. We do mostly fire departments and civilian EMT and paramedic positions, just because of my background in the fire interview stuff. But we can and have done police testing as well. It's the exact same thing. We just change, obviously the webpage would be police-based, and then we'll change the metrics on the cognitive behavioral testing for police officer. And we can even adjust that for lieutenant, sergeant. We also write custom promotional exams across the country for lieutenant, captain, battalion chief, and do those exams as well that are custom to that city. So the short answer is yes, we can do testing for anything. We are a little bit heavy on the fire department side, but we would love to start supporting more police departments as well.
Jen, how does this sit with you in terms of HR?
I agree with a lot of things the chief's saying, that it'll streamline the process for candidates. I like that the candidates are directed to NeoGov. I think it'll be easier for the candidates and for us. I've looked at some of the written exam information. That looks good to me as well, and interested in trying the video interviews and seeing how that works for us.
I think it looks good.
Well, thank you, Brendan.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you taking some time to listen to me. And you've got my contact information, so if you think of a question 5 minutes from now or 5 days from now, you've got my email and my cell phone number. Don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I'd love to work with you.
Thanks for your time.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Did you want me to step out of the meeting, or do you want me to stay for a little while?
Yeah, I think we're done with, I think we're done with what we need you for, Brendan, so thank you very much.
Perfect. I'll step out, and my cell phone's on, so if you think of something in 5 minutes, feel free to call me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good, thank you.
Goodbye.
All right, and cost-wise, we've got budget money for it within,
Yeah, we really anticipate the cost to be similar to what previous expenses have been too. We're taking on the cost ourselves, which is something maybe a little bit different than previous, but we hope that helps with the applicant pool too.
okay.
We were also taking them up on the ability to create a really aggressive timeline. So it is a kind of a short window. We're trying to get ahead of some other organizations, because other organizations have realized when we're hiring and have tried to hire before. So we're gonna start hiring like years ahead, I guess, because we're all gonna play this game. But certainly it's something we're looking at. Streamlining the approaches, making offers so people can start planning well ahead of it. So historically we've been tight on timelines, and we're trying to really streamline it, push it on the front end, so people have months' notice that they're gonna be hired by us, and so they can start planning appropriately. So,
Yeah, with the improvements that this looks like having and getting it for equivalent cost of what we're spending now for, it's a real big plus.
I think so, and I think, like I said, the big cost is something that just staff hours. I mean, the logistics of us having all of these interviews scheduled and people coming and going, and HR does a it's a huge lift for them to put all this together, and this takes, and really streamlines all of that effort, I think.
Okay. So then we need an approval from us, so, right. Aren't any further questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Dorf, seconded by Commissioner Laux. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, go for it. Thank you, good job.
Thank you very much. And then,
I think we're done with fire, so
all right, thank you.
just have cop stuff now.
All right, good. All right, see ya.
Go clean your
Hey,
shotgun,
Chief.
man.
Do you think these guys could go with me when I go ice fishing
You
next
bet.
week?
They can pull your fish out of the water.
I'll call you later. Well, print out today. Maybe I should go to those conferences and learn too.
All right, we're down to F4. We have F4 and F5 are both closed session items, so I will go through the closed session comments once for both. We'll go into one closed session. We'll do both items, and coming out, I will give separate reports of the two. So, item F4, consideration with possible action on the review of patrol officer candidate backgrounds. The commission may convene in closed session pursuant to sections 19.85, paragraph 1, sub C and F, Wisconsin statutes to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility. The commission may thereafter reconvene in open session pursuant to sections 19.85, paragraph 2, Wisconsin statutes, to report the results of the closed session and consider the balance of the agenda. And then agenda item 5, interviews with patrol officer candidates. Please take note that pursuant to sections 19.85, paragraph 1, sub C and F, Wisconsin statutes, the commission may convene in closed session for the purpose of interviewing, evaluating, and considering employment of patrol officer candidates. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Laux, seconded by Commissioner Dorf. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, we're in closed session. All right, we are back in open.
Recording in progress.
All right, we are back in open session. While in closed session, we completed items F4 and F5. On item F4, we reviewed 3 backgrounds. We rejected 1 candidate and continued 2 in the process. In item 5, we interviewed 2 candidates. 1 candidate will continue in the process. The second candidate, we will gather more information through this process and then make a decision at a later date. I'll ask for a confirmation of that report.
Motion to confirm that report?
Okay, motion by Commissioner Laux,
Seconded.
second by Commissioner Dorf. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, next item is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Seconded.
Motion by Commissioner Dorf, seconded by Commissioner Laux. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Recording stopped.